Does it look like it's on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, welcome Martha and Kathy and Katie this morning. Gail and I are so pleased that you guys have come on in spite of the fact that I didn't send out a reminder to everybody. So hopefully we might have a few more, but it's okay. Today, what we're going to talk about is actually one approach to leadership that has been one of the an approach that has really been a stalwart for me over my years as as leadership training in the business world. And my little forward button isn't moving. Okay. Why is that not working? I'm going to have to stop share for a second. And
last time, you know, when I was on, I had to actually right click and just do next every time because I couldn't I couldn't forward either. So
I'm going to try it one more time and see what happens and see if my, oh, I'll try it this way. Okay. So just so you know, there's only 3 of you, so it's not a lot, but if you can stay on mute, raise your hand if you want to speak. If you can certainly ask questions in the chat. And today I'm going to be more the lead facilitator, if you will. So Gail's going to keep an eye on the chat box for me. When you can, since there's only 3 of you, you don't have to be quite so concise this morning. We can chat away, I think, as much as we want. But we are going to be recorded, so I just want to make sure that all of you are okay with that. Any problems? I'm assuming not. You know how this goes. So let's just do a quick name club. Any current or former leadership roles that you want to share, and why today? Why did you choose to join us today? So Martha, you're at the top. I'm just going to go down the road. So Martha, you first.
Okay. Martha Green, Reno Sunrise Rotary Club. I was president at one time. I was district coordinator for a group study exchange for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I led a group study exchange team to Poland. I'm currently on our foundation board. And do you only want Rotary leadership roles?
If you have another one you want to share, go for it.
Well, I was a middle manager for 20 years at Washoe County Library System. So I led the group that processed every bit of material that ended up on the shelves, books, videotapes, CDs, you name it, we processed it in order to get it onto the shelf. And then I also was in charge of a couple of branches during that time. And I'm joining today. Are you going to talk about, I forget what the topic specifically is today, but I thought I would join because of what the topic was. And I missed the last one, and I'm sorry I missed the last one.
Oh, that's okay. The last one was on servant leadership, and
oh yeah, that's the one. And I'm sorry I missed that one, but
fun
anyway.
Conversation. And I think I just found it as we were waiting to get started.
the recording, yeah.
I found the recording.
Oh, okay.
So we'll send you the recording.
Good.
That out to everyone.
Great.
And today we're going to be talking about Kouzes and Posner's approach to leadership, which is the 5 behaviors of exemplary leaders. So that's what we're.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good.
Okay. So thank you, and glad you're on. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kathy, how about you?
Hi, I'm Kathy Wilcox Barnes, Rotary Club of Nevada City, and I'm currently membership chair in our club, and I'm most current past president and been president twice. And I guess why did I join today? I was really excited when I saw this whole the whole series of conversations. And I'd have to say I'm probably, we haven't talked about it yet, but the reluctant leader.
Ah,
I've always, people don't believe it, but I've always been really, really shy. And yet I find myself in these leadership roles. And so anything I can do to learn, and that's why I'm here today. Thanks.
that's cool. She's also an exemplary cookie maker. Good stuff to eat. And also, you know, believe it or not, I'm very shy too. That's actually, I was such a wallflower growing up and so reserved, and people kind of go, nah, no way. But I'm the same way. I ended up getting into roles, and it's helped me to grow as a person because I had to step out of that shyness role in spite of myself. And so I can definitely appreciate what you're saying there, Kathy.
Hello, Larry Harvey.
Yeah, that is what happened to me. You know, I had to step out of that shyness because of the roles I ended up in. Anyway, and
Well,
cookies, I have to tell you, my random act of Rotary is taking cookies up to our COVID vaccination site today and tomorrow.
oh, that's
Yay.
cool. That's awesome. Very, very cool. They are lucky people.
Oh, wow, we've got people popping in.
Yay!
We've got
Well,
two
good.
people.
Yay. Well, welcome, Larry, and we're going to give you a chance to introduce yourself in a minute. Next up on the list up, though, is Katie. So, Katie Keith, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Katie Keith. I am with the Tahoe Douglas Club. My current leadership role is president-elect. I was secretary in this year as well, and I was able to hand it off to one of our other new members that has been in Rotary for a lot of years at another club and just moved to the area. So he happily stepped up. I'm very appreciative. So I can move forward with my president-elect training and getting my board prepared. And I chose to join today because I always want to learn more about the roles I'm in, and I'm kind of a lifelong learner. So I'm in the process of getting my CFRE, which is a Certified Fundraising Executive certificate, because that's the current role I'm in at the nonprofit I work for, in fundraising and development and donor relations. And so that was part of why I wanted to get into Rotary in the first place, was to use the skills I have in fundraising and donor management to put funds toward good causes. So
Good.
I thought Rotary was the perfect place to be.
It is. Well, that's awesome. A nice blending of strengths. And that's one of the fun things about Rotary, I think, is that no matter who we are and what our background is, we have something unique to bring to the club. And it's fun to see.
Well, and usually every time people talk about fundraising, everybody else shrieks back in terror. And I like jump up and down. Ooh, let me do it. Let me do it. So,
and they go, yay.
Yeah. They're like, go ahead.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I tend to be the kind that never meets a stranger. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for stepping up to be president starting in July. And I know you've been busy these last few weeks with training as well, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome. And I see Larry Harvey on the line. So welcome, Larry. Want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's.
There you go. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, Larry Harvey, Rotary Club of Sparks. Leadership roles. I keep getting thrown into them my whole career. So I'm currently a Chief People, Culture, and Equity Officer for the Reno Tar Airport Authority, and been doing that role, vice president of HR for 20 years. In Rotary, I'm the incoming assistant governor in Area 8. I've held the positions as a district secretary, administrative chair of the district, and of course, club president. So done a lot there. And in my out life, a lot of boards and nonprofits. I'm current chair of the board of United Way of North Nevada this year as well. So a lot of leadership roles. And why did I join? Anytime I see opportunities and training and leadership, I usually jump in. That's I guess that just go right to those things. So always interested, learn new things.
I love it. Love hearing that. It's, to me, it's like a magnet. I see that leadership word and I want to go find out about it. So sounds like a couple of you are the same way. So welcome to all of you. Gail, I can't see anybody else. Are there more people online?
Yeah, we have Walt Davis.
Hi, Walt. Welcome. We can't hear you though, so. Still can't hear you.
There we go.
Nope, we still can't
No,
hear you.
Not yet.
I don't know why we can't hear you.
So while we're waiting for Walt to solve that, Berta, Martha did make a comment in the chat that when you and Kathy were talking about being shy, she said, perhaps you're not shy, perhaps you're introverts, because those things are often confused. So just
well,
throw
that's
that
a
out
really
there.
that's a really good point, because I definitely am, you know, in the MBTI that I am an introvert, but growing up, I was certainly shy. And I think as I matured, that shyness has gone away more so, but I definitely still, my primary way of being is introvert. I need that quiet time to process and to grow and to figure things out and have my ideas generate there. So yeah, thanks for that clarification. It's a really good point. And Kathy, you may be the same way. I don't know.
So Walt, any success on the audio?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yay,
can.
yes.
Okay. I'm Walt Davis from the Altruist Club. I was a past president back in the 90s, and it looks like I'm going to end the queue for not this coming president. I'm not the current president-elect, but next year looks like I'll be president-elect. So
Great.
that's one of the reasons that spurred me on to joining the leadership call here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing that again, because it is, especially in our smaller clubs, a lot of times we end up having to rotate and go through that rotation more than once. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think having done it once, the second time around, it wasn't quite so scary. But welcome to you and to everyone else. So as I mentioned today, what we're going to be talking about is just one leadership approach. And this is an approach that I learned back in around 2000. It's by two gentlemen, Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner, who wrote a book called The Leadership Challenge. And this book was actually based on some research they were doing. They were both working for Tom Peters, the Peters Institute, who is a guru in leadership. You may have heard of him. And so they went out and did research to find out what made an effective leader or an exemplary leader. They just really wanted to find out from people who were across all different ranks and industries, what made a leader a good leader. And they literally interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And they kept narrowing down what the feedback was. And it came down to these 5 things: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. And so this was an approach that I used in my leadership training over the last 20 plus years. And I just think it makes so much sense because it's actually their behaviors. So I wanted to go backwards just a bit though, because last time we were talking about servant leadership. And I wrote up some of the things that I came away with from the call, but anybody else, if you think about what stood out for you as a servant leader, what were some of the things that came out as servant leaders do? Anybody? You can take yourselves off mute if you want and just raise your hand. So
there we go. There's my
Katie,
hand.
Katie has her hand up. Yeah.
go for it,
I was
Katie.
trying to find it on my phone. They actively listen and engage with engage with what they hear, to make sure that their members feel heard and valued.
Yeah, that came up multiple times from multiple people to make that those servant leaders really were listeners. And I think that one of the things that comes out of listening is understanding the needs of the people you serve, right? What is it that you drives you? What is it that you need? What is it that you're passionate about? All of those things, when you're listening to hear those things, you are then in a position much better to serve. So anything else that anyone remembers or that pops? Okay, so I think if you think about it, a servant serves others, right? So they have a commitment to others' growth. They focus on those needs of the others around them. I think there was a sense of humility, that it's not about the servant. In the servant leadership model, the servants kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will, and it's those they serve who are at the top, versus a top-down type of leadership. Certainly someone that you can trust because they're there in your court for you, very empathetic and encouraging. And I think they tend to be self-aware. So these are some of the things that we came out of last week with. And I just want to keep that in the back of our mind, because as we talk about this leadership approach from Kouzes and Posner, I think there's you see the crossover. It's not exact, but there's definitely crossover. And if we think back to a couple times ago when we were talking about who our favorite leaders were, and there you see that listener again. This was some of the things that we heard from you all about who your personal favorite leaders were. Integrity, they're inspiring, they're someone who encourages you, and supportive. So all of these characteristics, I think you're going to start to see in this Kouzes and Posner's model as well, which doesn't surprise me. These were your favorite leaders, and the research that was done was about what makes, what's the type of leader that you would want to follow. So this is what came out of it. And they have written and rewritten numerous, I don't know what version they're on their book, but they've been publishing it for many years, and upgrading it. And the interesting thing is they've talked to people literally around the world in different countries and different industries, and the same things come up. So these are the 5 behaviors of exemplary leaders, or somebody that you really want to follow and keep. If I have to work for someone and this, or work with somebody, these are the kinds of people I want to work with. So let's talk about these a little bit. And actually, I really want your input on this, because I think that when you talk about behaviors, those are actions, right? So the most important thing we can do is, we want to have the knowledge about these things, but we have to act. And Rotarians, people of action, right? So we need to be doing things if we really want to be an exemplary leader. So let's start first by just talking about modeling the way. So when you think about modeling the way, what comes to mind? And so what does that look like? If you have to take action, how do you model the way? And why is that important? So anybody? I see Kathy smiling. I think she's smiling at the backpacker.
I was just thinking, oh, you must have been behind me on the trail getting.
That's my sister-in-law there. I was in the back of the pack.
Love it.
I guess the leader would have the map and know the way from point A to point B.
So the leader would know the way, or know where you're going, and show the way from point A to point B. So modeling the way. So what else do you need to do? So having a direction, understanding what a direction is that you want to go as a team or as an organization, that's important part of modeling the way. What else do you need?
Kathy has her hand up. Kathy has her hand up.
Thanks, Gail. And Kathy? You have to take it off mute.
Okay. One of the things that's important is gauging how fast others can go so that you're not way out in front, that you bring them along at the same speed, so that, as a leader, we've got an idea of we don't want to be so far out front that the others are just trying to race to catch up.
Or feel like they can never catch up. It's like, oh my gosh, that person has so much energy. The energy,
Yeah.
You guys are running. Good point. It's a pacing, and pacing at the pace of the people that you're serving or who are working with you, right? So really good point. So how else can you model the way for a team that you're leading? I see Martha.
Martha has her hand up. Yep.
Thanks, Gail.
Well, I think about it more as attitudes, not so much physically leading the way, but attitudes about, that you have integrity, that you show up on time, that you really work at whatever you have to be. I'm thinking about a work situation, obviously, that you show up on time, that you don't waste time, that, if you have problems, you speak up. And I think the leader needs to model those things: showing up on time, working hard, not wasting time, being approachable. So I'm thinking of attitudes for modeling the way, not so much actual, leading in a backpacking trip or something.
Yeah, and obviously this is just a visual to have that sense, but you're absolutely right. And yet when you're saying attitudes, those attitudes have actions that, like you said, be on time, don't waste other people's time, have integrity. And when you say have integrity, what does that mean if you're talking specific behaviors?
Well, that you tell the truth, that you share what you're. Okay, I was in middle management, so sometimes I was told things, don't tell the truth, and then other things would be like, yeah, this you can share. So I always felt like, I needed to share what I knew about where the library was going, usually what budget cuts were coming, because the library is always the first to get cut. And so to me, integrity means that sharing what I know with the troops, and then also when they make comments, sharing those up, to the top management, so they could know how their actions actually affect the people on the ground.
And when you share and tell the truth, what are you doing for those who work with you? you're modeling it, right? So
Modeling, yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
you
I would expect them to tell the truth to me. Yeah.
totally. And so I think one of the key things to me around modeling the way is knowing, first of all, how do you want people to act with you and for you? You know, if you want people to be honest and to have integrity, then you have to show that as well. I like to say you have to not only be trusting of the people who work with you, but you have to be trustworthy. You have to show that you're worthy of their trust by your actions. You have to do as you say. Um, do what you say you will do, and speak the truth, listen. And if you want people to show up on time, you need to show up on time. If you want people to get things done, you have to get your side of the equation done as well. So yeah, all of those things are modeling the way, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, right? Now, the question I have is, you know, why is that important? Anybody? Why is it important to model the way?
Because it's easier to follow when they've got an example to follow.
Great. So yeah. And have you found that, like in Rotary, a new member comes into the club? What do they expect? How do we expect them to act? How do they know how to act? Part of it is by sharing what we know, right? And going back to what Martha said, share what you know, tell them what you expect, and then do that as well. So important to model the way and not be afraid to get in there and do what you ask them to do. I think that's, we've heard that a number of times. Never to be a, you know, don't ask other people to do something you're not willing to do yourself. And I know one example I heard was manager walking down the hallways in an office building, and there was some litter on the floor of candy wrapper or something. And he bent down and picked it up and put it in the trash. It's not waiting for the quote unquote the janitor to do that, or making a new pot of coffee in the break room, right? All of those in the work scenario that might be thing, but it's true with Rotary as well. Not being afraid to do what you expect of others. Any other comments around this, around modeling the way and why it's important? Larry.
Larry, I'll just say that I agree. You know, when you talk about attitude, it's behaviors, right? We're modeling the behaviors we want to see because leading the way, I can tell you in Sparks Rotary, half the time I felt leading the way, you jumped up ahead of them so it looked like you were leading. They were running ahead of you. And so you had to be with them, understand them. You know, it's all about your behaviors and working together. And yeah, leading is an interesting word in Rotary. We have so many drivers, people who are passionate, but it is understanding them and showing them that you care and you're part of it and you'll listen, honest, transparent, open. You know, I think those are exactly right. It's about the traits and behaviors is what we're modeling to show leadership.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it's just, it's important too. In some clubs, sometimes you had to race ahead to stay up with others, and others you have to pull back and say, ooh. And I think this year with COVID, many of the clubs had to just sort of stop and say, it's okay. The elephant in the room is this crazy disease we're trying to get beyond. And some people aren't comfortable with the change to Zoom or the technology changes, and being with them, not ignoring it, not dismissing that fear, that sense of uncertainty, but being with them in your own attitude. So I think there's lots of opportunity in modeling the way. Do you have to be the leader to do this? I see some heads shaking no. And so why? So you're not the leader. How do you model the way when you're not the leader? Any thoughts? To me, it's about being the best of who you are, right? I mean, it's when you model the way, whether it's as the leader or just as who you are and bringing your own integrity to the forefront, I think people watch who you are and what you do in the club or in any organization. And that becomes how they see you going forward. And perhaps that's why Kathy and Larry and all the others, you end up in leadership roles because people see you modeling the way, even when you weren't in a leadership role.
Kathy has her hand up.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, I think that, when we're not in a leadership role, we can still, we can quietly set the example and model the behavior, and others sometimes, are maybe watching that more than they're watching the leader. As we started this series, one of the things we said is everybody in the club is a leader. And so you can't take that leadership role off and hang it in the closet for when you're not on the board or something. You're still leading.
Amen. And you're really helping others to, the more, it's the power of multiple people. Gail, did I see your hand raised too?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was thinking back to when we, when we had attendance requirements in Rotary, which seems like a long time ago now. But so as a sponsor, if you brought somebody into Rotary, very often one of the questions was, well, why do I have to come every week? I'm a member, I'm paying my dues, whatever. And so I always thought the easiest way to answer that question was to be the one that was there every week for whatever reason, because you got the information or because you wanted to support your president or whatever. And so we all did that as sponsors, but we weren't the leader. But I think that communicated more to some of the people that I brought in than just saying, well, Rotary has this rule and you have to have 60% attendance and whatever. It always made more sense that if you were there every week, they could see why it was important.
Great. Thank you very much. So modeling the way is kind of the first. I think it really does. It goes back to what Martha said. It's almost, it is behavior, but it's almost that internal who you are. How do you act? And that's what others see. And they are much more likely to emulate you. I mean, they will emulate you, whether it's good or bad, right? So you better be modeling the behaviors you want to see in the group. Okay, the next one is inspire a shared vision. And a lot of times we talk about, we want the folks that we work with to see the vision that we have. And we talked about, we want our leaders to be inspiring, but here it's talking about inspiring a shared vision. So what does that look like as a leader? Why are you inspiring a shared vision? Any thoughts? Do we have different ideas in the clubs? Different ideas of what to do and how to do it?
Yes, no doubt.
No doubt, exactly. So how do you get a shared vision?
I'm going to make a shameless plug here and just say one of the ways we can do it in our clubs is to have a visioning, because everybody's engaged and it's a capsule. It's, everybody's there. It's a little harder to be a president, for example, and want to inspire people to be behind a project that you have. If you have to contact those people, one by one, or they're not all at the meeting. So I'm just going to throw out there, have a visioning.
So, and who happens to be the visioning chair for the district?
Yeah, okay, so.
No, no, it's awesome. It's a good plug. I'm glad. I was hoping you'd go there because that is exactly how you get a shared vision. Is you ask everybody their ideas about how do they see the future? Where do they see the club going? How do you what do we want to have as our focus and our attention? And so that's the beauty of the visioning process, is that you get all that input. And once you narrow it down, I love the visioning process. Once you narrow it down, you've got the start of a plan. That's how you can start jumping in and creating goals from that shared vision. But why is it important then for the leader to inspire that? Have you ever been in a club or had a president maybe that didn't really focus on the shared vision? What happens if you don't stay focused on that vision?
You wander.
You wander. Yeah, instead of getting to the top of the mountain, you just might wander all over the place, right? So inspiring where you want to go, here reiterating the passion and the focus and the interest that you heard from the members as you were going through the visioning, or however you ended up coming up with that shared vision. It could be at a board retreat if you didn't do visioning. But keeping that in the front of the line as you go through. Why are we doing this fundraising? Wow, well, we're doing this fundraising so because we have a commitment. Our vision is to involve 12 new RILA students this year. Instead of doing 7 like we did last year, we're going to go for 12 this year. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool to get all these kids involved in RILA and see the changes, and we're going to bring them back in and utilize them down the road as alumni. You can, if you share the vision, you can repeat back to them the passion that they have and remind them that that's where they wanted to go too. And it links you together then. It keeps you more cohesive as a group if you keep that shared vision in front of you. But how do you inspire people? So it's both about the visioning, but there's also that inspire part. So how do we inspire?
Yeah, sorry. This inspire thing has always eluded me. I have no idea how to do it, and I don't even know why. Why do I have to inspire somebody? Just show up for work, do the work. You don't have to be inspired. So that's the cynic in me. I'll shut up now.
No, don't shut up, because I think this is really, really important. I think that you're not alone in that feeling. And I think that we have an image in our head of what inspiring means. Can you have a quiet person who is inspiring? How does a quiet person inspire? I think we all know the fiery, passionate ones who get out there and they can, but that may not inspire you, Martha, right? So how?
Yeah, that just irritates me. You know, people show up, oh, hi, everybody. Oh, you're not loud enough. And that just turns me off immediately. So yeah, thank you. I do not like loud, inspiring leaders. Sorry. Okay.
No, don't be sorry, because you're spot on. That inspiring doesn't have just one look. So Larry, you kind of nodded your head when I said something about, can a quiet person be inspiring as well? What other ways can we inspire besides the rah-rah out there? Oh, I also see Katie's hands up, but Katie, I'll come to you after Larry.
Inspiration, I think. Obviously it's personal. And it's finding what it is that, lights the match in each of us, right? So I can tell you, like, Free Fishing Day in Sparks Rotary is very, very big. We have a lot of people who are very passionate. I was one of those, like, what does that mean to me? And when I finally got into it and saw how many families were affected, how many children getting engaged there and talking to them, and saw how it impacted the community, that's what inspired me. So I wasn't inspired by the initial pitch, I guess you'd say, or talking about it. And so it's finding in each person, what is it about giving back to community, to families, to children? Where do you gain that interest, that passion, and finding that, trying to do your best to find that, because each of us gets, inspired by something different. But very often it's just connecting on what is it that connects with you. I might have someone who talks to me about it and I don't even get it. And then someone else just, as you said, quietly goes, this is why I do it. Here's what it does to people. And that might inspire me.
And
But I think it's finding that passion in each person and understanding it.
yeah, what I hear from that is the old phrase, what's in it for me? As a servant leader, or as any leader, part of your job in listening to others is hearing what would inspire them, right? So what would inspire you would be that how it had the impact on the kids and the family. But for someone else, it might be just the big gathering and getting the news in the newspaper, whatever. It's different for different people. And I'm gonna go to Katie then. Katie, hands up.
Well, mine's very similar. Inspiring someone is all about finding their passion and interests, because it's not us focused, it's outward focused. And so as we find their passions and interests, sometimes they're things that have already been done in our past in the club, and sometimes it's inspiration that they have for something new that could add to the club.
Right. So listening to both, it's both and, right? It's not this or, it's oftentimes it's that and. How do we change it? How do we increase it? How do we expand it? How do we involve that person and their passion into what it is we're doing? So I love that. And I think the important thing to remember here too, that any of us can be inspiring if we're coming from our own heart and our own passion. When we share that, whether it's in a quiet way or in a loud way, people get that you're being real. When we're being real is when we can touch other people's hearts. If we're just doing something to, people get it when we're not being real, I guess is the way to put it. So inspired to share vision, be yourself, listen to what others need to be inspired and to get involved in what you're doing.
So Kathy did have her hand up. I see that it's down now.
Kathy, come back there, Kathy.
It's okay. I was just going to echo first, Martha, that, loud isn't always inspiring. And I totally agree with what Katie just said. So.
Yeah. And I think that is a misnomer when we hear that. Sometimes we think inspiring is just the loud rah-rah, and it's not. It's not. Okay, thank you. So the third one is challenge the process. And sometimes people see this and go, wait a minute, what do you mean challenge the process? That's a way of being an effective leader? What do you think this means?
Well, I'm just going to offer that how many times have we heard in our clubs, well, we've always done it that way. We've always done it that way. That's how we get things done. Everybody knows how to do it that way.
And what happens if we always do it that way? We don't
get the same results.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a good part about doing things in a certain way if you're getting the results you want. But I like to contend that there's always opportunity for us to improve, whether it's as individuals or as an organization, right? Whether it's our clubs or the district or the company we work for. So did I see another hand there?
Kathy,
Kathy?
I just wanted to say, I think this year, this past year has been a perfect example of this. We've had to find new ways to do almost everything, whether it's our community service projects or Zoom meetings or, and we've, in some instances, we have found better ways to do things. So I think that sometimes crises can force us to challenge the process and come out better.
I think you're absolutely right. Yep. Who else was talking there? That was perfect. Larry?
I
Larry,
want to say that I think challenging the process also inspires creativity. It challenges you to rethink it. And I think that's how we came up with things like, the middle school leadership. I think that's how we came up with a lot of these things, is somebody liked what was going on, but thought, but why aren't we doing that earlier? Or why, they're challenging it at some point. So a lot of these new programs come from someone challenging the process, and businesses we're all finding this is the right thing to do. It shouldn't be status quo. What are we doing to improve ourselves every day? And it's hard, but once you get in the habit, it actually, and not in a hurtful way, right? Challenging someone, it's challenging the ideas and the way we do things to say, what can we do different or better? And I can just say everything usually inspire something new that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. So how can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective? How can we streamline our processes? How can we fundraise in a different way? I think a lot of this year, we heard a lot of clubs, and I'm looking at Katie as Katie's picture as I'm saying this, because I heard a lot of, we can't fundraise this year. Well, clubs have found that they can, right? And did it have to be differently? Yes, but different isn't necessarily bad. Keep the traditions that are meaningful and effective in our clubs, but continue to look for ways to do things better. And I think that goes for ourselves. What can I do differently today or tomorrow that I haven't done before? What can I learn? I think this is all about continuous learning and continuous improvement. And, if you think about status quo, if you think about if we don't changing, we get stale, right? And stagnant. And I think that can happen with people, it can happen with organizations. So an important one. So unless there's other ones, I'm going to move on.
I would like to say that if you don't change, you're going to get left behind, not static.
It's not even just static, it's getting left behind. There you go. Yeah, good point, Walt. So enabling others to act. Sometimes the word enabling has gotten a bad rap because we associate with some negativity in some ways. But if you think about the real meaning of the word enabled is to make able. So enabling others to act. Why is this important for a leader to do?
well, I'm thinking of the example of you have someone in your club or workplace, whatever, who always is the one who raises their hand. And sometimes that means that other people don't get to raise their hand. So I think it's looking around and gauging your participants to make sure that they have an opportunity to raise their hand.
Making sure everyone has a voice there. Sounds, that's one of the important things as a leader, is to make sure that everyone gets to be heard and it's not just the loud one all the time. That's great. And enable, one of the roles that I see as a leader is building other leaders, building up the strengths and the case and skills of others around you. And I love this, you know, you were talking about the fishing, Larry. I don't know if this is the same event, but I love this picture of Rotarian helping this
It
young
is,
boy
yeah,
learn
it is.
how to fish, you know, and
Katie has her hand up.
Katie, go for it.
It's also, as a leader, you need to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the people in your group, and, you know, foster and encourage people in their strength, and so they feel the value of what they have to input. And then also, if people are a little more shy, you're able to help find avenues of service that they can shine in.
That's great. So as president-elect, do you see how you might be, have an opportunity to do that next year? And with that, she put her hand down. Sorry, giving you a bad time, Katie. So
No, it muted out in the middle for me. Sorry.
that's okay. I was just saying that as president-elect, do you see how that you will have an opportunity to do this next year?
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it already just in creating my board, you know, assessing the members that I've gotten to know over the last year, and you know, to build the board in a way that'll bring in new people and older existing members that have been there a while and have more experience, and kind of marry those together.
Perfect, beautiful. And you know, sometimes it's showing someone the way, it's modeling the way, and that in itself can enable others to act. It could be providing an opportunity where they can get involved in a way that's comfortable for them. Sometimes it's providing materials or training or tools that they need to do their job or their task effectively. So it really depends on what the circumstances is, but it really is helping others. If you want the group to be involved and to be engaged, it's part of your role to find the way to make that accessible to them, to be able to act effectively and efficiently in whatever project you're working on, or fundraising activity, or whatever it is within the club. Any other comments on this about why it's important
I like
to?
what Katie said about, you know, it helps leadership actually see the value of certain members of the group, but also it helps the individual members see value that they've actually contributed to the group, and makes them more feel like part of the group.
Yeah, and that's so important, right? We all know how important engagement is, and feeling valued. I was going to say feeling important, but it's really more just that sense of you, that every person feels the value of their own contribution to the club or to the organization. Thank you,
I would
Walt.
say also it's important for the leader to recognize those people too.
Well, funny you say that, because that leads perfectly into the next slide. Oops, I left it out. Where I deleted a slide here. Sorry. The next one is actually the last one, and I need to insert it back in here. But that's encourage the heart. So the fifth one is to encourage the heart, and encourage the heart is definitely that. It's acknowledging those who have contributed, acknowledging the participation, or the creative ideas, or the behind the scenes work that gets done, whatever it is that people contributing, being able to say thank you and encourage them and acknowledge them is so important. And I'm really ticked off that I deleted that slide. So, oh well. It is what it is. Kathy.
I think when you said that, it made me think, I think that's why we have the Quiet Rotarian Award. In every club, there's somebody that you don't hear much from them, but they just go about doing things. They're just always there. They find a task and they just take it on. And so, doesn't always have to be the Quiet Rotarian Award, but coming up with creative ways to acknowledge them and ways that they don't get embarrassed by being acknowledged, because some people just really don't want the spotlight on them. But that affirmation is important.
Absolutely. And that's a part of being an effective leader too, and is knowing how someone would want to be acknowledged, right? Would it feel better to be in front of the group, or would it feel better one-on-one, taking someone out to coffee or to lunch or something, and just, telling them one-on-one how much they are appreciated and valued in the club. So very important that we encourage the heart. Does that seem woo-woo to you when we talk about encouraging the heart? Is it too soft? I see Larry smiling.
No, I don't think it's too soft. Yeah, I hear that a lot in training stuff. So yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're one of the things we're going to talk about upcoming calls on here is about Steve Barber's approach to leadership, and his is love is just damn good business. And he uses the L word, right? So it's not just encourage the heart. It's actually, he's talking about love, but encourage the heart. Encourage the heart of that word is cour, which is the French word for heart. So it is about having heart. And oh my goodness, what would any leader be without heart? We don't want heartless leaders. We want leaders with heart, and we want them to share their heart with others. I think that the more we do that, the more real it becomes. One of the things I just recently did was I did a survey of all the club presidents to give some wisdom back to the presidents-elect. And so you presidents-elect are going to see a little bit this in post-pets. But I saw several times, be real. Be real. And that's about showing your own heart. So let's see. Oh, we are out of time, aren't we? Why? We need to go on. So we've talked about this as we went on. If even though you aren't in a current leadership role, you can still do these things because others are still watching what you do. And think about these as you pursue your Rotary career, whatever it is. Think about these 5 behaviors and how you can integrate them into what you do. And with that, I apologize for going over. We try to get done before the hour is up, but we're right on target. So any last minute comments from any of you? I don't see any hands raised, but I appreciate you all so much for being here.
Thank you for coming.
And we're going to be switching up the topics. I think that what we had identified, I may be switching up. Gail and I are going to be talking and switching them up a little bit. So keep your eye. You're going to be sending a recording of this, and we will be sending the updated schedule as well. Okay. So thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Next
Have
time
a great week.
Again, thank you so much. And
You're welcome. Have a great
Thank you,
week.
Berta.
have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.